Prominent Sports. We got a couple of good cast members with me today. We got Boogey Bob, we got my boy Big Ken, and Donnie Dude from The Ticket. How y'all doing, fellas?
Doing good, doing good.
Doing well, thank you.
Good.
Well, first off, let's start off talking about the NBA draft, man. There was surprises, in my opinion. I was not expecting Dallas to pick who they picked, but when they traded to get Lively, that was something that kind of shocked me. I didn't think they were going to get a big man, or because last year defense has been our downfall. When they got rid of Dinwiddie, when I got rid of Finney Smith, our defense just went to crumbs. I mean, I just think we needed defense. So, in your opinion, Ken, what do you think about what the Dallas Mavericks did as far as their draft pick?
Yeah, I mean, when I first saw the guard drafted first, I hadn't even thought about the pick being traded and none of that. So I was confused. I was like, we got enough guards. But when they went with Lively, I wasn't surprised because we do need help in the middle. We do need an active big. And I saw some footage of him on his IG, and he was basically showing everybody that he could step out and shoot the jumper. So to reassure people that he actually can score because that's been one of the knocks that he can't score. So
Right.
I think he'll be fine with what we need, and hopefully him being a live threat as well. And at 7'1", 7'2", he can be serviceable for what we need, I think.
Right on. And Donovan, what are some of the surprises you've seen in the NBA draft?
It's funny how you can turn one pick into three players, and that's probably I'm pretty sure they're pretty happy about that because the Mavericks need help. They're devoid of talent, and they just need some talented guys. I know a lot of people were a little, maybe worried when they thought it was Case and Wallace being drafted. And I was saying, hey, he's a defensive guard. You need all the talent you can get on this team to try to improve. So before we knew that the trade was happening, I probably was one of the few people that didn't say, okay, you know what? I don't think that's a good pick. I think he's a really good defensive guard. But to turn the disappointment in tanking that's going to help next year. You never want to advocate training, but that's probably $750,000 well spent from Mark Cuban, right? When he got fined. So I think they have definitely improved the team with last night's draft.
And Bob, you have any impressions on what the San Antonio Spurs did with Wembanyama? I wasn't surprised for most people, but what do you think him fitting in with San Antonio? How do you kind of categorize that?
I read today, so Metropolis 92 that he played for is owned by Boris Diaw, and the league is owned by Tony Parker.
Wow.
And the picture last night shown of Victor wearing a Spurs jersey. And I texted a friend today. I said, they've been working for this for a couple of years. They offloaded Derek White and they offloaded DeJounte Murray, two very good players, serviceable players, maybe not championship players, but they developed them and got picks. They didn't renew Bertans, and they traded Podol. So they've been collecting first round picks like Oklahoma City. I think because of the French connection, especially with Diaw owning the team and Parker running the league, they knew about VW, who's I call him. They knew about VW before, kind of like the Mavs knew about Doncic before the others knew about him, before the YouTube sensation. But
right.
The trade, I love the trade. You essentially recovered the 2 first-round picks that you gave the Knicks or will eventually have given the Knicks, and you got rid of a really bad contract in Bertans. I'm like, anytime you can offload that and then use it to buy another pick, even if the players don't turn out, they swung for the fences. To me, likely, on the high side, he's Tyson Chandler. On the low side, he's Willie Cauley-Stein.
Dang, I never heard that comparison before, but it does make sense though, and that's the same thing I was thinking about the comparison to Tyson Chandler, and that's what I was talking to a guy today about that. I was hoping he can be a fit as of Tyson Chandler, and more on the draft itself. Those two twins, Amin and Asir. What are your opinions on them, Big Ken?
I think they're two great guards. I mean, the league has gone to you got guards that are 6'7", 6'8", both can play, two way. So I mean, I think for them being back to back was the biggest surprise, but them being selected at high wasn't a surprise at all. And I would like to point out that both of those guys, they came from the overtime elite team. So like that, I think that was the surprising piece for me that so many of those players are quote unquote, kind of like high school guys that chose another route, but they're still being selected as lottery picks.
Nice. And Donnie, what are your grades on some of the teams that chose? Who you think had the best selection and had the best go at the draft this season?
I want to go back to what Big Ken said about the G League and the overtime elite and
Yeah,
those guys
absolutely.
being selected there, because that is a very interesting route that's available for some of the young kids. And with the NIL coming in college, I thought, you know
Mm,
what? I think college basketball is going to kind of get back to what we are used to it being, because those guys can't get money while playing in college. But man, I have never seen a second of a G League game ever. But these guys getting this pro experience and getting it done. So I'm with four of the top five guys being G League. Well, three. I'm sorry, three of the top five guys being.
Scoot Henderson. Yep.
Yeah, I wonder if now more kids are going to try to go that route and not go to college basketball, even though the G League games I just can't find them on TV, or I guess I just have no interest in watching them. So that just, that is very fascinating to see. I thought with that NIL money, I thought college basketball, all the kids would go to college so they can get that exposure, so they can up their game and be visible, so they can get picked higher. But everybody's going to find talent anywhere. But I kind of like what Houston did yesterday, because I know Cam Whitmore was rated pretty highly in the draft this year, and he just kept falling and falling and falling and falling and falling. And they had two first round picks and wound up getting him at 20. And I know a lot of those guys, man, will use this as fuel to say, hey, you know what? I failed a 20. I'm going to go out there and show them that I was a top 5 pick like everyone thought I was, and I'm going to go out here and ball. So they have a new coach. They have a couple of new guys that are talented. They have some cap money. I think they may say, you know what? We're tired of the rebuilding, man. It's about time to let's go and use some of this cap space to get somebody that can come play. And that's why they've been floating the James Harden rumors. He wants to go back to Houston. They've been even floating to maybe them being interested in Kyrie, because they can pay him the money that he wants because they have the cap space. So I'm pretty interested to see what they're doing, because they've been in the cellar for a long time, and it's about time for them to try to step up and start being a really good team.
And I really like the addition to the coach, man. Even though he has a checkered past from what he did in Boston, but I think he's going to make it a lot better in Houston, bringing that kind of continuity he had in Boston. As far as the draft, I think what Dallas did was pretty good, but it's going to be yet to be seen when they get everybody in order as far as what they have on the roster now. So I just want to see how cohesive they can be. In your opinion, Bob, what are you thinking are some of the great decisions that these teams made during the draft this year?
I agree with what Ken and Donovan said. I don't sleep on Portland's draft. They got Scoot Henderson and they got Chris Murray. Chris Murray is a twin brother of Keegan Murray. So you
Yeah.
talk about the Thompson twins, the Murray twins, about that same size that can score. I was reading before the draft, the overtime elite, the minimum you make is 100,000.
Wow.
So NIL money, you already got to have name before you get to college to make 100,000, and that's the minimum. The overtime elite players and the G League, they're paying 250 to 500,000. So unless your name is the son of LeBron James or Dwayne Wade, you're not going to get that NIL money. Or you're at Amani Bates is a name that 2 years ago he was expected to be the first pick in the draft. He
Yeah.
fell all the way to the bottom of the second round. So, and that was a name everybody knew was falling. So it just goes to show you there's always somebody that falls, was medical report or rumors. But my surprise of the draft, I like Portland's draft. Of course, I like Dallas. I would rank them third, but there wasn't there was minor movement and there was not as many trades as expected, but it was a deep draft. Who we going to be looking at 3-4 years from now and say, oh, there was Tyrese Maxey? I think that's why Case and Wallace went high. They're best friends. Their games are very similar. I've
Mm,
seen Case and Wallace play. So you judge a draft when they're in year 3, year 4.
right. And earlier we talked about a lot of the kids that came out of the DFW. Can you speak on that a little bit too, Bob?
Yeah, there were 10 players that were in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Mike and I coached Carrollton Farmers Branch. So
That's
I
been many
tried.
years ago.
Oh, yeah. But you see, there's a lot of local talent. And besides California and Florida, Dallas, not just Texas, but Dallas has had more people drafted, specifically lottery. For those that don't know, Hoop Fest, the day after Thanksgiving at Duncanville,
Hmm.
they always have at least a dozen, sometimes 2 dozen kids that are ranked by whatever service you want to call ESPN or Rivals or Max Preps. They easily have a dozen to 2 dozen top 50. And a lot of time, like I saw Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey play against each other as high schoolers. It's like $10 from 9 in the morning till 9 at night. But Casey Wallace is best friends with Tyrese Maxey. He is one heck of a defender. There's some up and coming guys. I was telling you earlier, Artero Morris. He played at Texas, but he didn't enter the draft. And then there's a kid who's ranked number 1 in the high school class of 2024, Trey Johnson. Was playing at Lake Highlands, and he's going to one of those academies.
Mm,
I think it's in
But
Missouri. I think.
yeah, and so even the Mavs signed a 2-way contract with Myers Jr. that was from, I think you said he was from DeSoto,
Yeah,
played
Mike
1 year at
Miles.
TCU.
Mike Miles.
Mike Miles.
Yeah, TCU kid.
Yeah.
Yep.
And his dad, I think it was his dad or brothers played. So we were talking earlier about pedigree, and I mentioned him. 7 players in the first round either had a father, mother, play basketball brother or sister, and 4 of those 7 had a father that had played at least college ball, and 2 of them had played pro.
yeah, that's an amazing number right there. So we're going to kind of move along now, and I just want to talk more on the NBA trades. It's been some some stuff going on. You got Phoenix is one that headline with Bradley Beal. Ken, can you kind of give me your thoughts on that one, man? Because that is they're trying to build a super team over there, but they lost Chris Paul. What are you thinking on that?
I mean that the addition is great because it's gonna help them defensively. We know Bradley Beal can score, but what's I think not really talked about in a lot of circles is his defensive skills and his ability to play defense on the perimeter in particular, where the league has heavy on the perimeter. So you pick up a guy that's going to contribute and play better perimeter defense, but you lose the floor general in Chris Paul, who kind of ran that offense and found guys in open spots, and of course he's been in the NBA forever, so he's very savvy. So you lose that, but you have a super athletic team that can kind of do whatever. That everybody can kind of you can kind of stretch the floor outside of Ayton, but
But doesn't him and Booker kind of play the same position, in my opinion? I mean, I don't know how that's going to work.
well, to me, they don't. To me, you put Booker at the 2, you put him at the 3, you put Durant at the 4. Create a mismatch. Because you got to look at it in the league, it's not like we're in the 90s where you have big, burly power forwards. That's not the game anymore.
And I'm not mistaken, is the coach gone also? Money? Then they let him go?
Yeah. Money's in Detroit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
So
they hired, if I'm not mistaken, they hired Frank Vogel. There's so much movement around. I think Frank Vogel is in Phoenix.
Yeah. I think
But
so.
yeah, you know what? When Booker first came in the league, Ken, Booker was playing the point, and they moved him to the 2. So he has some
yeah.
point guard experience. Man, I think they're going to get off Ayton. And I think they're going to try to deepen their bench because you have 4 guys making, 90% of the cap. They're going to have to get some depth on their team. And I don't know if it's just a change of scenery for Ayton. I don't know if it was just Ayton and Monty Williams kind of getting crossways. I know their new owner, he doesn't care about luxury tax. He wants to win, and he'll do anything it takes to win. But they are going to have to deepen their bench because they can't count on those guys, man. Bradley Beal, I love him. I really do. I would have loved for Bradley Beal to be in Dallas.
Yeah.
But he has to show that he can be healthy, man. It's been 3 or 4 years since he's played a ton of games, and that's going to always follow him until he shows that he can be healthy. So I think they're going to get off Ayton and try to deepen their bench with that.
Yeah, they got to deepen their bench because that's what hurt them this year. They weren't deep enough.
I mean, you have to.
They put all their chips in the table for 2024.
Yeah.
And they got, I heard they have no draft picks till 2029.
I heard 31 is what I heard, that they don't have any draft picks.
Yeah.
31.
They're going in, man. They have a new owner that's trying to win right now. So he's just rolling the dice on everything.
And Jordan Poole moving. What's up with that? I'm sorry, Bob. What'd you say?
I was saying that the new owner, his pockets are full. When he starts paying that luxury tax every year, he might have a change of heart.
Just you know what? It may be one and done if they don't win a championship because that bill's going to come hot and heavy.
Yeah. And Cuban has a little bit of that. He's got his one ring, so he hasn't spent the money like he did trying to get that one.
Yeah.
They're all trying to avoid it. You see Golden State trying to avoid it. Mike, I think that's where you're trying to go as far as them getting off Jordan Poole and making that trade. But I think Golden State, they have those 4 championships. They're good, but I think they're trying to make sure they don't have to pay, $300 million or $325 by trying to maneuver some things around. Draymond Green, he opted out of his deal, so they can maybe lower his price a bit. So they're trying to keep the band together, but they're trying to do it at a more economical price.
Well, would the moving of Jordan Poole hurt them or benefit them?
They overpaid him. They paid him for 1 year, and they did it too quickly. He picked the right time to do exactly what he did. No disrespect to Jordan Poole. He's a good player, but he's definitely not a $28, $29 million a year player. And I think they kind of realized that. And just things weren't the same after that punch in preseason. So I think something had to kind of move around a bit. And I think they'd rather keep Draymond Green around for what he does than just kind of – because Jordan Poole is one-dimensional, man. He's a good scorer. He really is. And when he gets hot, man, he is good. But it's kind of few and far between him getting hot. So I think they did the right thing by getting off of his deal. I'm going to make this prediction right here.
Okay.
If Jordan Poole stays in Washington, he leads the league in scoring next year, hands down.
Well, isn't Kyle Kuzma still with Washington?
Oh, he opted out of his deal. They're going to have to pay him if they want to because he was only going to make 13 next year, and he's like, nah, that ain't enough. So he's a free agent. If Jordan Poole stays in the way they're tearing down, Jordan Poole may shoot 40 times a game. They're not going to have anybody else.
He's definitely going to get the touches. He's definitely going to get the touches.
He's going to get his shots up.
And Porzingis moving to the Celtics.
One thing you almost described THJ.
Yeah.
We call him the flamethrower. So when he's hot, he can't miss. When he's off, he can't make.
Right. That's exactly what Poole is.
And like I said, Porzingis moving to Boston and Marcus Smart moving on. Man, what's up with that? I mean, I don't know. Porzingis' career is not what it used to be when he was in New York, but does that even benefit them?
I think
they got 2 first-round picks for him as well, didn't they?
2 first-round picks. I don't know if they're going to re-sign Jaylen Brown, but if KP is your 3rd or 4th option, that's exactly where he needs to be. That's where you get a little pressure with him being the 1st or 2nd option, where you'll kind of be disappointed a bit. But if they have Tatum and Jaylen Brown, they're not saying KP, we need you to score. it's KP. When you run with the second unit and those guys on the bench, then you can be the man. But when they're not, let's protect the rim a bit, go grab some rebounds, and then we'll get you some shots up. But if he's the man, he struggles. If he's a supporting player on a really good team, I think we talked about Phoenix kind of pushing those chips all in. I
Mm-hmm.
think Boston's doing the same thing with that KP deal.
So will it be a hurt for them losing Marcus Smart? Who's going to fill his position as the point guard position? And his defense was phenomenal at times.
Yeah, I think it's definitely gonna hurt.
Brogdon and White. Malcolm Brogdon on the defense scored a little bit, and Derek White as leading the team.
Derek White's going to be the starting point guard. Brogdon's his medicals came back pretty bad because that's why they nixed that trade. So I'm wondering if they're gonna, I don't know what's the deal. I don't know what's the deal with his health or whatever. I don't know if that's gonna keep him out. But yeah, Brogdon was a great six man last year, coming off the bench and scoring. But I think Derek White is more than capable of. He's just not as big as Marcus Smart, but he can handle the defensive presence with Marcus Smart down in Memphis.
But I think I think the thing that slept on though is not just what they can do on the court, is what he brought to the team as far as his mentality, his dog mentality and his leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Because really and truly, he's not the best player on that team, but he was definitely the leader on the floor. Not just being the point guard, he was vocal and he was the guy who drove the energy. So I think that's going to be the biggest piece in which they're going to be missing, and they're going to have to find a way to manufacture that.
Kind of like a Draymond Green in essence with Marcus Smart, basically.
True.
Yeah,
he was the grit and the glue.
Yeah.
Marcus Smart was the grit and the glue. And someone asked me, I made this comment: would I rather have a baller, or would I rather have a talent? And I told the person, I said, give me the baller, like Spencer Dinwiddie. It's no question that Kyrie's more talented. Give me the baller, because talented guys, they hadn't gone through adversity. When the going gets tough, they're likely to just quit. But a baller, they got that instinct of, you ain't putting me down. They've been through adversity, and give me the baller. That's what Marcus Smart was. He couldn't shoot when he came in the league, but he's a dog, and every team needs a dog.
Yep,
and it kind of reminds me of Devin Booker when he first started out. He was kind of soft in my opinion because he didn't like nobody beating him up in practice. Man, why y'all double teaming me? You know what I mean? So it kind of makes me feel like you need somebody better than him on defense because he plays hard, but he's a talker for the most part, in my opinion. He can hoop, but he's not, like you said, Bob. I don't think he's a baller, in my opinion. I don't think he can withstand people double teaming him all the time.
Well, so we're talking about trades. One of the underlying subtleties of the Mavs trade is it got them under the luxury tax. So they have a mid-level exemption that they wouldn't have had, because even though you took Holmes about the same age as if you look at the stats, he's basically Bertans, but a better rebounder, not as good a shooter, about the same on free throws, same age, same height, weight. But you're paying $5-6 million less this year, and that gives them a mid-level exemption to go get, like the Nuggets did, go get a Bruce Brown.
Right.
So some of these trades weren't talent swap; they were financial swaps.
All right, cool. So let's move along to the Summer League, man. I like what they did the last couple of years, making the Summer League a championship game and giving these guys rings. Donnie, I know you didn't watch any Summer League, but if you had an opportunity, what would you like to see more from the Summer League as far as visuals or being broadcast?
The Summer League or the G League?
The summer, well, it's all this. Well, the G League is different, but I'm saying the NBA Summer League.
Okay, yeah, because a few years ago when Zion and RJ Barrett got drafted, I have a cousin who loves basketball. Like, he is 100 into. So we went to Vegas to Summer League to see them play, because they played that first Summer League game against each other, and we were there all day long. And Zion and RJ Barrett, they were the nightcap. They were the last game of the day. And man, when they were warming up, I swear to you, it felt like a playoff game in that building. Like, it was crazy because they were warming up and Zion was dunking and everybody was hyped. And then Zion got hurt, and then we left, and then there was an earthquake and they stopped the game. Like, it was weird.
I remember that.
Yeah, I was out there. I was out there in Vegas.
Dang.
But yeah, man, they said that Wemby's going to play in the summer league, but it's going to be in Sacramento, and they're going to play against Brandon Miller. So they have those teams going to those different places. So I know it's going to be just as intense, man. Like I haven't watched G League, but Summer League, there are times when I just tune in, man, because you get sometimes second-year players and third-year players trying to get their name back up and get their game and get recognized and go out there and ball. So I do enjoy watching Summer League. And I'm telling you, my cousin might say, hey, man, let's go to Sacramento and check out Wemby and Brandon Miller go at it, and I'll be all there for it.
Nice. And Ken, what are your thoughts on the Summer League? Do you watch it or you just kind of bypass it as well?
No,
I know I watch it.
I definitely watch it, and I also watch all the different regions, because kind of how they have it is set up in different spots, and then everybody comes and kind of participates in Las Vegas. So if you are a fan of the game and you want to see all these different players and all these different teams, then you probably want to wait till the end, when everybody goes to Vegas. But there are going to be some great games in all these different areas, and definitely tune into these summer sessions, because you get a chance to see the guys before they get with the vets, to kind of see what they have to offer. Because once they get with the vets, their game is going to be, their game might be minimalized. Some of these younger guys, they're going to be spectacular in summer, but when they get with the vets, all that spectacular stuff might have to take a back seat on some teams, because these other guys are going to get the touches. And so you get a chance to see the development if you watch the summer league over the years. And like Donovan was saying, those second and third year guys, you see that maturation over those years.
Right, kind of like Jaden Hardy when he first came. I loved his summer league. He had a bad summer league. I mean, not in a bad way, but speaking his language, he had a badass summer league. I like what he did. Bob, I mean, your thoughts on the summer league? What are you thinking on it?
Well, there's a reason coaches and scouts go watch the summer league games. Two of the best teams. Well, there's three, but Miami and Dallas. So Dorian Finney-Smith was in, I think, Detroit, but he was on another team. The Mavs picked him up out of the summer league. The Mavs also had Christian Wood on their summer league team, but didn't sign him.
Right.
So you have like Tyler Hero and Gabe Vincent.
Surprises too, both of them.
Yeah, and the guy that the Lakers picked up, I forget his name. Not Herder. Anyhow, there's a lot of guys that don't get drafted, like Drew Timme didn't get drafted. But if they go play in the summer league, it's almost like an advanced stage AAU type game, or their motto is you either show up or you ship out.
Yep. He signed a deal with the Bucks. It was one of those. I don't want to say it was a two-way. They called it another deal, but when we went to the summer league, where we were sitting, like the third game, Rick Fox was sitting like 2 seats away from me, and I looked over and I was like, "Man, that's a pretty man. Who is that?" And it was Rick Fox. Like, man, that's kind of I see him pretty on TV, but he's pretty in person.
You get your man crush there?
Then he had a busted phone too. I was like, "Man, you too rich to have a busted up phone. What are you doing?"
Sound like a man crush in the summer league there.
Oh my God! That's don't look at my Google searches after that.
Yeah, I really love the summer league. The summer league, to me, it gives me a kind of an idea of what these players are going to kind of be like. And you're right, Ken. When it comes to the veterans are going to make sure that they put them in check. But if you are a talent, kind of like what Jordan Poole did when he came, they kind of let him flourish a little bit. So I hope that when we get our team in the summer league, Dallas that is, and we see what they look like, I hope knowing Kidd, he's nothing like Rick Carlisle. Rick Carlisle would let players play too much, but I think Kidd would let these kids flourish like he's doing with Jaden Hardy and the guy from Australia, I forgot his name. But those, Green, those guys, he's letting them flourish. And I think they're going to be a surprise this year when it comes to what they're going to do on and off the court. But yeah, the summer league is something that I'm looking forward to.
And you have those young coaches, like assistant coaches, that are leading the team. Because Becky Hammond was coaching the Spurs
Right.
summer league team, and you usually don't have the head coaches. They're spectators, and you have some of the assistants or whatever leading those young guys out there. So, man, some of those guys are hungry out there, and the game shows. Yeah, you're right. I love seeing, like, you just don't know. Like, I'm looking forward. We talked earlier about Houston. I bet you
Mhm.
Cam Whitmore, if he plays on the summer league team, I think he's going to act a fool in there because, okay, you waited till 20 to come get me. Well, let me give you these buckets in here. So, yeah, some of those guys who think they were overlooked, some of the undrafted guys who thought they should have been drafted. Yeah, they're going to show out, man. It's going to be fun to watch.
A question for you:
Yeah,
Is Chet Holmgren going to play in the summer league this summer?
I doubt it. If he plays, it'll be probably surprising because he's already been off a year, and I don't know how. I haven't seen any information or news on him regarding his injury, how he's recovering from it. But I don't think he's going to play at all. I think they're going to just probably get him in a lot of preseason games to see how it works. And if he does great in those preseason games, they might just give him the green light. But that's a good question. I don't think he's going to
Great
play any
question,
summer
Bob.
league game.
I think he may. If he's healthy enough, I
Yeah,
think
I
he
think
may
he's gonna
roll
play.
out there and then just to get some run, just to not wait till preseason and say, hey, you know what? I'm healed. Here we go. That'll be great if he did. I think he may.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
because
agree.
he's a talent. I don't know, but that'll be a good question though. As far as what I'm concerned about with the Mavs, man, I just want to make sure that we get our defense up and we're playing to our potential. And with Kid at the helm, a lot of people is not liking what like what Donnie said when he kind of tanked at the end of the season. That fine may tell us that they did, but I don't know how they're gonna look this year. But if they just give Jalen and Jaden their go, I think we should be fine. But I'm going to move on, guys, until we're going to talk about some of the basketball fashion that came through the draft. You know what I mean? I mean, there was some amazing outfits, man. And Scooby Henderson was G'd up. And I always question myself, well, why these guys always wearing all this jewelry? Where are they getting this from? I know they got agents that pay for this stuff for them. But I mean, in your opinion, Ken, what were your thoughts of some of the outfits that you've seen during this draft, and even some of the draft throughout the years?
I'm gonna tell you like this: the jewelry, a lot of it's not real. Let's just get that out the way. A lot of it's not real. They've gotten very good at mimicking and doing all this, great jewelry work of things that are not real. So, some of those guys may have, like you said, the agents and other people who have, purchased these things for them. But a lot of those guys have on jewelry that is not real. But hey, that's okay. They're gonna have the money soon, so maybe they can replace it. But yeah, I mean, for me, the name of the night when it came to the fashion was Grady Dick.
Yeah,
Grady Dick
that
was
red
dressed.
suit.
Grady Dick was dressed like a ice skater when he came out. I thought Blades of Steel. Well, no, Blades of Glory, the
Praise the
movie.
glory. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so I don't know why my brain went there, but the red but when he talked about it and it tied into him being from Kansas and Dorothy's red shoes, and
Oh yeah,
okay, I get it now. I get why you did that, but it was still a very very odd look. But I think for me, that's the one that stood out the most of all the suits. But there were some very weird suits. I'm not even going to talk about the fit because that's a new thing, right? So
hmm
that's just a sign of the times. Things are going to change, but the patterns that I saw on some of these suits were were very odd. But it's a stark difference between the class of 2003 when you look at those pictures of LeBron and them in those big giant suits, and I'm like, did we used to
yeah.
wear that? Oh my
Dude,
god!
LeBron had more fabric in his suit in 2003 than everyone there at the arena last night. That big suit. The only thing, hey, I'm pretty open minded with fashion. If you feel what you need to feel, that's okay. The only thing I didn't like, and I saw two guys there last night. One thing I'll never understand, and I would never ever do, is not wear a shirt with my suit. Like you just have
Right.
the jacket on. Like, come on, man. What is that? You're sweating. You're getting the pizza, the jacket stuff. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Hey, that's from the 70s. That's from the 70s. Now, if you go back in the 70s, there was a lot of suit wearing in the 70s with the chest out, with the taco meat showing.
Yeah,
So,
they had the taco meat showing. Now we need the accessory. We need the taco meat instead of the gold chains or something.
Hey, these guys are 18, 19 years old. They don't have taco meat yet. It's coming.
They have bananas or something right there. Yeah.
And Bob, what was the most outrageous outfit you've seen so far? Not even, you know how they walk in the arena? I mean, like Kyle Kuzma has been like, I always think of him with these big ass sweaters. But what have you seen, Bob, that kind of caught your eye and you're like, what the hell is he wearing?
Well, I was at an advantage and disadvantage. I was at the Mavs draft party, so we only had visual. We didn't have audio from the players. So what Ken was describing about Grady Dick.
Yeah.
But when he walked onto the stage, my friend said, "What's he, Mr. Liberace?"
Damn.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. That is Liberace, yeah.
True.
So we didn't get to hear the explanation, but that's what they kind of stuck, at least from one of the people, Mr. Liberace. But at least no one came in with shorts and a suit like Trey Young, my boy from Oklahoma. I like the other one. I remember I don't remember the player, but it was black, but it had red and it had symbols, and the symbols related to somebody. Was one of maybe Donnie or Ken know who I'm talking about?
I do. I have the suit in my head. I just can't remember what player it was.
It was like in the first top 5 or so.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I mean, it supported a cause, and it was. I think there was something hooked in with the charity. So there's always. I'm always for the people that support somebody or broadcast a charity, and so he would get my vote. I just don't remember the player's name.
I thought
I just
Brandon Miller
remember
was
red and
clean
black.
too. Yeah, I thought Brandon Miller's look and fit was pretty dang clean.
And I think the most ridiculous thing that I've seen throughout the years is just, I mean, I just kind of keep going back to Kyle Kuzma, man. I don't know. He's got to be trolling people with these big old sweaters and just coming in because, like, I think it was like back-to-back games. The sweater got bigger and big, but it was the same sweater.
Right,
What are you
right.
doing, guy?
Yeah, he is trolling, and I'm kind of here for it if he's going to troll. That kind of makes me laugh a bit.
I don't think he's trolling. I think these guys have people who dress them, and of course they get paid for it. They get paid to wear this stuff because when somebody sees what these guys have on walking to the arena, no matter how ridiculous it is, some kid out there is gonna bug their parent to go out and purchase this, and some young person is gonna see it and was like, "Oh, I'm gonna wear that this weekend. I'm gonna go find that." So, like, James Harden does the same thing. James Harden
Right.
wears some of the most outlandish stuff, and you're like, there's nowhere to wear that outside of this runway at when you're walking into the into the building,
Right.
and if you're modeling, like, other than that,
Westbrook's the same way.
yeah, Westbrook's
Yeah.
the same way.
Yeah, I was
So,
about to say because he loves skirts for whatever reason.
Yeah, he's pretty out there.
And then,
You mentioned Russell Westbrook.
yeah, we just did. The guy from what's his name from not New Oklahoma. He's a nice dresser. SK. What's his name?
Alexander, SGA.
oh, Gilgeous Alexander,
SGA. Yeah. That kid can dress. I like his style. I mean, if I had,
he can hoop too, boy.
he can
Yeah.
hoop too, and his fashion just makes me feel like I need to step my game up for sure.
Yeah, if I start making some of that money, I'll step my game up. But other than that, you're gonna get what you get with me.
Nah,
Hey,
for
Donnie,
real.
you and I have the best time. That we don't have to
Yes.
dress up, and we get to sleep later in the morning.
That's right. We don't have to worry about going to the barber shop or anything.
That's right.
Guys, thanks. So moving along, let's go to NBA news, and it's been interesting. And the first person I'm sure pops into all of our minds right now is Zion Williams. And I just don't know at his age. I mean, come on. I mean, I get it. I mean, I don't know if I would do that at that age, but it's
Let me tell you
interesting.
something. I've always said this. I think the older we get, the more we disconnect from what we would have done when we were in our early 20s. Now,
Yeah.
let's add to the fact that you give me $200 million under the city, I am wilding the hell out.
And there's no social media back in our time.
And it wouldn't have even mattered if it was, because I'm still doing what I do because I can do anything or get anyone I can. So
I think the social media makes it worse.
Absolutely it does. Yes.
Because now the porn stars that you look at, you can actually reach out and touch. And you got the money to do it.
You are one click away from making contact with whomever you want. And now you have the influence and you are who you are. So that just makes it that much easier. I'm telling you. Yeah, these cats don't have to work hard anymore. We had to walk up to a girl and get her phone number on a little piece of paper and see call her, the next day or something like that. It doesn't even have to work like that anymore. So yeah, he's kind of, it's almost like you would think, does he need a change of scenery? Is that going to help him? But man, I just think that stuff will follow him anywhere. He just has to kind of focus if he wants to be serious about getting healthy and being one of the better basketball players. And I think the older he gets, this experiences that he's getting right now and realizing that, everything I do is going to be out on Front Street, then I think he'll be better as far as focusing and trying to play the game. But I saw today that she got his name on her tattooed on her cheek, and that's
oh no.
Eddie. Yeah, I just saw that today. So
I think he needs a good OG, because when you look at a lot of these guys in the past, especially superstars, they talk about having good vets on the team who taught them the way. You know what I'm saying? Who, when they came in, like Gilbert Arenas was saying, when he came in the way, he had some vets that kind of showed him what he needed to do. And I think that's where the issue is. There's no vet on New Orleans, because they're such a young team.
right.
There's a bunch of young guys, they're just running ragged, but he needs to be on a team, not only that's a change of scenery, maybe not in such a big metropolitan areas, especially like New Orleans, where there's a bunch of stuff to get into. He needs a good vet around him to kind of help him make that transition and to refocus himself. I think that'll help.
You need to go to Indiana or something like that. Ain't nothing. Indiana,
yeah.
And
Well,
John Moran. Oh, go ahead, Bob.
John Moran and Dylan Brooks.
Yeah, I was going there next.
So this goes back to even the 80s when Guire and Blackman and Harper were playing. I think it was either Richie Adubato or Dick Motta said, every team has one crazy. He said it gets out of control when you have two crazies. So you can handle one crazy, and a veteran, as Ken said, can keep him in line. I think that's what Marcus Smart will do. He'll help John Morant stay in. But the interesting stat is less than half the drafted players ever get to a second contract.
right.
And so that's that fourth, fifth year is what separates the players. You got these players that they make the million, like, I got it made, I don't got to do anything else. And they're out of the league in 4 years. And then you got the other player who may not have came in as good, but he realizes it's a job and he's got to work at getting better every year. And that's when you see the difference in the player. It's not so much the growth. They talk about centers take 7 years to develop, a guard 3 to 4 years. They watch that Donnie Nelson had a lot of criticism, but he was very good at evaluating players that were already in the NBA in that third, fourth, fifth year and seeing their potential, or whether they had that mentality of, this is my job, I got to get better. I think that's what social media has made worse, because even in the 80s, you had people, okay, I'm good, I got my contract, now I go live, and 10 years later they're broke and you never hear from them again. Or you had Sean Kemp that had like 10 kids and 1 or 2 wives, and so we just didn't hear about it unless you read about it in the paper. But these kids nowadays is like, I want to be viral. I want to be viral. I want to be the next hit. Well, the thing about viral is 5 seconds later, there's the next guy that's viral.
Right. So the interesting fact is that there's a lot of players they're using social media to kind of enhance themselves, but at the same time, I think that's a hindrance, in my opinion, because the more you put out there, you can't get that stuff back. It's out there forever. It doesn't matter if you just tweeted it and then the tweet goes away. Somebody's going to capture that tweet. And I'm thinking, who could be in John Morant camp? Because he has his dad there, but is his dad even trying to get him through these tough times that he's going through? I mean, in your opinion, Ken, what do you think about that?
I think his dad is doing exactly what his dad probably should do, but we got to keep in mind that there's hard-headed kids. You know what I'm saying? We were hard-headed when we were young. Our parents I had great parents, but I still went out and did what I wanted to do. So, I think he's just young. And again, I think the thing that comes into play is the vets on the team. Like,
Mm,
I think that's a thing that has changed a lot with the culture of basketball, especially at the highest level now, where it seems like every team had at least one vet, one or two vets that, kind of like Miami. People talked about them keeping Haslam around and so critical of that. Like, why are you keeping this guy around? That's why. That's simply why. You got to have that guy who knows the lay of the land, who's a
hmm
staying force, who can help some of these young guys come in and get acclimated. And not all these teams have that anymore. And when those young guys come in and you in an area like Memphis is kind of the wild, wild west. So,
Sure is.
so
Sure is.
it's already a volatile area. And so for him to get out in the streets with these guys, that's tough, man. That's a tough thing. And even for his dad, even if he's there every day, even if he's in his ear every day. I mean,
hmm
from what I saw, his dad has a house next to him. So, he's there. But I mean, sometimes your friends have more influence on you than your parents can.
I
And
almost feel
so,
like his dad is capping to try to be even more famous than John Morant. And that was earlier where he was trying to be in the spotlight. And I don't know if, sometimes it's a little too late to try to guide, but I think there are really times when you understand the responsibility that you have and the platform that you have that you just got to grow up. Because I think a lot of times you blame the camp. Okay, you know what? He needs people around him that's going to guide him the right way. Well, he's the money man and he's the voice. So sometimes you just have to be that responsible person and say, well, what the heck am I doing? Why am I doing this? Because it's doing nothing but hurting me. And if he didn't have anything, like Bob said, if he goes broke in the next 5 years, guess what? Those cats that are in his camp right now, they ain't gonna be nowhere around, and it's just gonna be him wallowing in his brokenness. So he has to understand and realize that those cats are there for the clout and the money and whatever they can get from him. And I think once he does, and he says, okay, you know what? That's it. I'm done with fooling around. I understand that I could be the face of this league and continue to use my platform for good. I think he'll be okay. I think I'm hoping that this 25 game suspension will be it, and then he'll just go out there and play basketball and concentrate on that. But
I thought it was
that's
going to be more than 25 games, in my
I
opinion. I
did
thought there
too.
was going to, yeah.
I did.
I was
And I was
hoping
thinking
not.
too, and yeah, I understand, but I was thinking like when going back to the Draymond Green situation, it was overblown in my opinion because that should have been kept in house. And when you submit that stuff out to the public view, Donnie, what do you think that the public's going to do? Well, they're going to eat it up. So your
Yep.
opinion on that?
Well, money is the root of everything, and that was supposed to be in house, and maybe they could have fixed it in house. But you hear something, hey man, I give you $5,000 if you give me that tape, and somebody who's a video runner for the team needs $5,000, boom, and now it's out there. So
Dang.
it's. I guess you just have to realize, especially in the business I'm in, that even if you think the mic is off, it could be on. So you have to watch what you say. So you just never know who's watching or who's going to see what you're doing. And it is unfortunate that it got out because I think it affected what they did this entire year and how they didn't have a good year this year because I think they just couldn't fix that. So, it's unfortunate, but now it caused Jordan Poole to now be in Washington. So it's just wild, man.
See, I mean, yeah, I agree with you. I just hate he moved so fast. I probably would, in my opinion, move Draymond because Draymond's already kind of up in years right now, and you could probably replace him, but it's kind of hard to replace that offense that you get from with Jordan Poole.
I
They wouldn't be able
disagree.
to stop us four if they didn't have Draymond Green on the floor. They have
Yeah.
nobody to play defense out there. Like, I think his value is really underrated because we just kind of look at stats and you
Yeah.
Yeah.
see 7 points and 6 rebounds and 4 assists and thinking, oh, he a triple single or whatever. But his at defense, man, he is pretty much the floor captain for them defensively. And how I always said, and I said it last year, Bob, when Dallas played Golden State. If Dallas had Draymond Green, Dallas would have been a top 4 team in the NBA because he
Mm,
knows how to play defense and he knows where everyone needs to be and he can make up for a lot of those mistakes that the other guys are making. He's a really good complimentary player that I think he's earned every penny he's made in the league.
Well,
no, I can agree with
the
that.
one thing that you're hitting on, Donnie, that is what made Tyson Chandler so good on the championship team
Exactly.
is he
Right.
talked. And centers, not so much that they got to block shots, which Christian Wood could do, but they're the quarterback. The players that talked like you got to be here. This is what the defense, and they were talking about. Uh, the first thing they're going to do would likely was get him to Mike in one of the drills. Our coaches used to count how many buckets they made, and I told my fellow coach, it's like make the players count because face it, when they're on the court, even in the sixth, seventh, eighth grade, they can't hear you. I mean, coach can be barking out loud, and it's like you got to get the players talking to you. It's like street ball, like screen, screen, help, help, uh,
Yeah.
those kinds of things. But I want to go back what Ken was talking about with his dad and John Morant. Two players came to mind. One was we talking about practice. We talking about
Allen
practice.
Iverson.
Allen Iverson in the day had his posse, and they did a 30 for 30 about how many hundreds of millions he made, and now he's broken his posse's gone. He was in
Right.
jail. He got thrown in jail, high school, undeservedly. And then the other was where is LaMelo and Lonzo Ball's father? You don't hear his name much anymore.
No, but he's been there. I'm a big fan of him, man. I think he's done a phenomenal job with his kids, and he's got
I
them
do
to
too.
where they are now. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I'm,
think that's why
it-
I think that's why he's quiet because that was his job is to get them where they are, and he did that. So now, hey, you're there. So let me step back and let me go do something else because you're where I tried to get you to.
And it's
and then
unfortunate that people kind of
mhm,
didn't like Lonzo because of LeVar. I thought that was really unfair, and I felt
mhm.
Lonzo was kind of carrying that burden because everyone disliked his father because he was so boisterous and so loud and all that. But yeah, man, he was there for those guys. He said, "My guys are going to make it in the league," and 2 out of the 3
Mhm.
have. The other one is he still in the G League? Or is he still trying to get to the league? I
I
don't
think
know.
Yeah.
so.
D'Angelo.
Yeah, yeah,
I think so.
whatever he was saying, it may have been loud, it may have been brash, and he was all in your face. But he didn't lie. He didn't lie at all because he got those boys exactly where he said that they were going to be.
Well,
I
and he
agree.
not only coached them talent wise, uh, he coached them on how to be able to deal with the press too. That's like whether you like LeBron or not, or love LeBron. LeBron had huge pressure when he came in league, and he's always handled himself very, very well with the media. And he doesn't get props for that because he gets so many haters. Uh, but the Ball's brothers, his dad, I think, coached him up for, hey, you're going to have to, you're representing yourself. You got to advocate for yourself. So the way you conduct yourself, you don't hear about any of the Ball brothers getting in trouble.
Mm-mm.
Not at all.
Not at all. Not at all.
Well, because you got to remember though, Daddy Ball, as they call him, he was a pro athlete himself, so he kind of knew the lay of the land. Because I think there's pictures floating around of him when he played for the Panthers. He had a cup of tea with the Panthers, so he's been in those circles, so he kind of knows the expectations, and he's heard the horror stories, I'm sure, from other players around him when he was playing, and then he made it to the highest level on the football side. So when he had his sons, he kind of could help them navigate those waters a little bit better than somebody who hadn't been to that level before and don't know what the expectations are.
Yeah, didn't like the presentation, but I did like the fact that he was always there and he was kind of steering those kids in the right way. And LaMelo, he's a hooper, man. That dude can ball. And I
Yep.
think getting Brandon Miller up there in Charlotte to put alongside him, I think that's just kind of starting their way up to gathering talent and trying to be a relevant team.
Absolutely. What do y'all think about Jordan? How he's running his team?
I think, and I tell people this all the time: great players don't always make great coaches, and they don't always make great executives, right? So
Mm,
I'm not gonna knock, what the decisions he's made, because some of these guys that he's made, that he's drafted, we thought they were going to be good too. And they just weren't. And he's just had terrible luck with drafts, and whether that be, the observations that he's made of certain players.
mm,
And, I mean, I can't figure it out, but I think this is his best move yet. Getting rid of that,
Put Jordy on the right.
that burden off of him,
Right.
and let somebody else come in and take over that, and be able to maybe hopefully help them have a resurgence and become a better team.
and Bob, your thoughts on Miami? Where they're going with Jimmy Butler?
Ooh, isn't he signed for a couple more years? I mean, they're going to
Yeah,
have
he's
like Gabe Vincent. I think they've got like 6 restricted free agents. Uh, it kind of goes. They they talk about the Heat culture. I think Ken alluded to that, having a veteran with
Mm,
Udonis Haslam, and
mm-hmm.
the locker room. One of the things Carlisle missed the most, even though Dirk wasn't much of a vocal leader, he led by his practice habits and showing people what it was to be a pro. Uh, and when they lost more than talent when Dirk retired, they lost the person who had the ring. And so, kid can give that message, but it's different when it comes from a player and a coach. Uh,
Yeah.
so I don't know. Miami's got some work to do. They Denver had a lot of talent, and the cohesiveness that they alluded to earlier, that Golden State didn't have this year. Like Denver was like 5 guys on a string, no matter who was
Mm-hmm.
in there, and Miami was just going to have to shoot lights out to even win a game. And I don't think it's for lack of talent. They find, like, who heard of Tyler Hero or Gabe Vincent before Miami got him?
Right. And
I
then Tyler Hero played the last game. Did he play
no,
none?
Nope,
no,
he
he was
didn't play,
suited,
and
so
he
he was on
suited
the
up.
bench.
that was a big hole for them.
Miami
Yeah,
had a championship worthy defense. They
and
played defense on that end very well. They just couldn't score. And
Yep.
Hero hurt them not having him, but they need somebody that can consistently get a bucket.
yeah, and
Uh,
Duncan Robinson. I mean,
yeah, he's not
there is
consistent.
something to the Heat culture, and kind of gets back to what I said. Pat Riley is no dummy, and he had a
That's what it is.
lot of talent in L.A. He went to New York and got chewed up by the media, but when he's
Yeah.
been in Miami, look how many finals Miami's been in since '06.
Yeah.
I think they've been to more. I think I was reading, other than Golden State, they've been to more finals than any other team since the turn of the century.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
they've
Mm.
been 7.
7.
Yeah.
and so
Wow.
it is. I mean, Spo has really grown up as a coach, but Riley's footprints are all over what they call the Heat culture.
Yep.
And I think that they're one of these, when they let a player go, they already got the next guy that they've been watching and studying that they can bring in. Uh, so I mean, Bam, look, Mavericks took Dennis Smith Jr. and Bam goes
Mm,
what, like 16 or 17, like 8, 9, 10 picks later. Uh,
mm.
so when they do draft, they draft very well. Uh, how old is Donnie? You know how old Jimmy Butler is? Isn't he in his mid-30s now?
I don't think he's that old. He may be 31, 32, something like
Okay.
I think he's 29, about to be 30.
that. They need a score. They need Dame. They need Kyrie. They need somebody that can go get a bucket, because that defense, no matter who's on the floor, is good. I'm telling you, man,
Mm.
Denver gave Miami every opportunity to win that series. Score. They could not.
And speaking on Denver's behalf, I really was so happy that Gordon got his ring, especially because I was felt so bad that he lost that dunk contest twice. I was like, bro, you can get you a ring somehow.
You know who else was on that team that got a ring that's an ex-Maverick? There's
Whew.
two.
On Denver?
Yeah, on Denver has two ex-Mavericks that got a ring,
Oh,
and the
yeah,
GM is an ex-Maverick.
DeAndre Jordan.
DeAndre
Right.
Jordan finally got his ring, but
Yep.
an assistant coach, Popeye Jones.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
he was
Popeye
ugly
Jones.
crying. He was ugly crying when they won, boy.
yeah.
He was yeah! Like,
I
whoa,
don't think
okay.
I don't think he has
Got
another way to
his,
cry.
boy.
I don't think he
and
cry any other way.
Calvin
Dang.
Booth, the GM, they hadn't even
Right.
finished playing, and he turns. So look what Mavs had a 2029 late round pick. Denver turns that 2029 pick into a first round, some second, then they move it and get another two first round picks, some more second round. Like that's Calvin Booth. You know, you talk about Mavs centers. There not been very
Dang.
many, but he hit the winning bucket against Utah for Dirk's first
Yep.
winning series.
Oh, yeah.
So that, the guy knows what he's doing.
Facts. So, getting away from the NBA, college, and I know we got to wrap it up here in a little bit, but I've been really focused on what it's going to look like for Texas A&M from number one in Houston. Houston, will they return back to the NCAA championship game? Ken, what are you thinking?
No, Houston's not. I'm
No.
telling you, Marcus Sasser was the guy. Point blank, flat out. And if you from the Dallas Fort Worth area and you know about the Sasser guys, then
Yep.
you know they get buckets and they're just special guys, and that's what they do. I think he was the heart and soul of that team. I think they're gonna have talent, but as far as them going back to where they were, I don't see it.
Wow. And Donnie, what are you thinking? Who you think is going back to the NCAA championship?
Man, it's just so, with the portal and with guys going to the G League, you just never know who's going to be on these teams. So actually, I was, I like the fact that you had like San Diego State and
Mhm.
I know UConn was pretty dominant in that entire series. Who am I missing that went to the Final Four? The team that
Gonzaga.
no, I'm blanking on the Final Four team. San Diego State, UConn. What's the other small school that went? Anyway, yeah, it's just I think you're going to see more of that now because of the portal and because of kids going to the G League. That teams that maybe play in these lesser conferences that are
Mhm.
winning a lot of games and they kind of come together as a team or start making those runs in the NCAA tournament. And hopefully that'll continue because sometimes you get like in football, I get Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State. I'm fatigued with those guys. Let's bring somebody new. But now in college basketball, you're starting to see, Houston be having a really good team and all those other guys stepping up instead of the traditional powers that are winning games in the tournament.
Yeah, there's been a lot of good teams that went through it. Yeah, Gonzaga, they got there. They got beat by Arkansas. It was so much that going on, and then Duke, they went pretty far, and this is in 2022. And it's a lot of teams that can really make a difference as far as getting to the Final Four.
Florida
My always,
Atlantic. That's what I'm
yep,
trying to think.
Yeah.
Florida Atlantic.
my
I'm
favorite
sorry.
of and I know they never win. They haven't won in a minute. Is Michigan, but Michigan plays so hard, man. I love how they play. What are your thoughts, Bob? Who you think you got going for the Final Four? This
You just name one of them. I mean, Jawan Howard knows how to recruit, and I don't count out Alabama. Even though Brandon Miller not there anymore, Rylan Griffin, who played along with Casey Wallace at Richardson, he Donnie, he's Penny Hardaway. That's who this kid is.
That's a good thing right
It, he took second fiddle because Brandon Miller was there. You remember that name, Rylan Griffin went next year. But I think Alabama has a really good shot. there'll be some
Mm,
dark horse that comes out of nowhere. I mean, Gonzaga, your Butlers. I think Villanova's dropping off after Frank Wright. You know, uh, there's always a Big Ten team that comes out of somewhere, out of the woodwork. And the
mm.
ACC gets way too much. Can we say overrated? Uh, they ain't
Well, they
well.
had a Final Four team. Miami made it, so at least they can claim that, right?
Yeah, but it ain't like the day of Ralph Simpson, and Jordan and all that. The
Right.
ACC just not like that nowadays. Uh, I think it's a team that you see these teams that are making the Final Four. There's usually one that has juniors and seniors that don't have names. Uh, but when they get there, like the blue bloods of North Carolina, Duke, Kansas, you expect them to get
Mhm.
there because they recruit, and Calipari with Kentucky. But these teams that have juniors and seniors, they've grown physically. There's a difference between an 18, 19-year-old and that 20, 21, 22. Like some of the drafts, the guys
Okay.
were getting drafted in the first round. They've switched that have played 3, 4 years because they filled into their body. So my dark horse would find a team that's got a lot of juniors and seniors and been playing together for 3, 4 years. That's where the dark horse come from. That, in my opinion.
Mm. Makes sense. Makes sense. So, guys, I appreciate y'all from coming on. So, I want to give you guys an opportunity to kind of tell the audience a little bit about yourselves, and then I can just tell you guys thank you for coming on. But Ken, give them a little bit of information about you, where they can find you at, and a little bit background.
Well, my name is Big Ken, and you can find me on the Fire Session every Tuesday. We also have a YouTube channel, the Fire Session. You can just search any social media platform, just type in FIYAH Session, and we'll pop right up. We talk about a bunch of different types of topics. We talk about sports. We talk about dating. We talk about everything that's relevant to life. So, coming on here today, it's been a blessing, man. And I love talking sports. And me and Mike talk about sports all the time when we see each other. So this is just, what I'm saying, more of the same, and it's very comfortable, and I like the atmosphere. And shout out to Boogey Bob and Donovan as well. I mean, it's been great talking with you guys.
Bob, give the audience a little bit of background about yourself, man.
Well, I'm just an ordinary fan, is what I tell people. Uh, God's blessed me, and I met you. I get to coach because I don't I was never married, don't have kids myself, so I pour into the teenagers. Uh, I remember what coaches did for me. I played hockey as a teenager, so I really believe in pouring into the teenagers' kids because if you show them how to life lessons come through sports, that they can overcome adversity if they're willing to put in the work and then never give up. I really believe in that. So, I mean, the Boogie Bob name is because I got on the big screen and been on ESPN a couple times. I used to call in as a P1er, Donnie, to the Ben and Skin show when they first got started. So, as you know, huge Mavs fan, uh, but just an ordinary guy. And they're like, oh, he's a dancer. But, Mike, you sit next to me, like, I've been watching and studying basketball since '76 NCAA tournament when Indiana went undefeated. It's like
Dang.
when it comes to fundamentals and watching and studying the pro game, there's a lot of these kids that are just super talented. They don't get the fundamentals, and I try to make sure as a coach that they get the fundamentals, uh, and just pass on that work ethic that will help them succeed in life, whatever they choose to do. So
Got it.
thanks for the shout out, Ken. It's always a pleasure to get on with another ticket, royalty. So thanks for having me on. It's an honor and a blessing.
Yes, sir. And Donovan, tell the audience a little bit about yourself, man.
Oh, man, I am born and raised in Oak Cliff, Dallas kid to my heart. I work at the Ticket. I'm on. I was about to say with Norm Hiskins, but he retired today. So,
Congrats, Norm.
yeah, no doubt. So it's 10 to noon, Monday through Friday on the Ticket. Man, we are going to see who's going to try to replace those big shoes of Norm. But I'm there, man, talking sports, talking. I'm like Ken. I'll talk whatever. I don't talk dating because I hadn't dated in a long time. But we talk about whatever, man. We have a lot of fun. And Michael, man, we've been talking for a while now, and it's always a blessing getting to talk to you and getting to know you and Ken and Bob. It was fun, really fun talking to you guys about basketball, man. You guys know your stuff, and I love it. Thanks for having me, man. And it's really fun talking basketball with you guys, man. For real, this was great.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you coming on, Bob, Ken, Donovan. Hey, it's a blessing. Appreciate you, man. I'll let you know when the next show, man. Y'all guys have a good night, man.
That's it, Pray.